Okay, we are turning on the video camera, so we'll be broadcasting live in about 10 seconds. Okay, we're ready to go.
Before we begin tonight's meeting of the Skokie 68 School Board, I would like our superintendent to introduce our opening number.
All right, so I'd like to introduce Ralph Petrella, our junior high band director.
Hi, everybody. We'll get into the details a little bit later, but this is a saxophone quartet group made up of 3 6th graders and 1 8th grader. We have Atik Syed, Edward Else, Kieran Aurora, and Kai Cezarowski. And they were one of our award-winning ensemble groups this year. So they're going to play Mozart's Ave Verum for you. Ready? 1, 2,
Thank you very much.
Very nice, that was beautiful, thank you.
well done, everybody.
And with that, we shall call to order the May 18th, 2023 Skokie 68 Board of Education meeting. We will open the floor for public comment. Please remember, this is not a dialogue between you and the board. If you have a specific issue which requires a response, Superintendent Garwood or the appropriate person will get back to you. Please state your name, your connection to Skokie School District 68, and limit your remarks to no more than 5 minutes. Finally, please avoid comments specific to any person, student, or staff member, respecting their right to privacy.
Or we do so we should do
Oh,
both.
thank you.
Thank you.
Bill
Let's get it
Jordan,
real quick. Thank you.
Joseph,
Here.
Monegro,
Here.
Ruffner,
Here.
Sturbin.
Here.
Sullivan.
Here.
Warshaw.
Thank you, Vice President Bill-Jordan.
Thank you, Secretary Sherman.
We shall now move on to the public comment. We have one registered, Rachel Moore.
Do I just be here?
Come on up.
You can come up here if you want.
I'm new here. So starting this past February, I applied for early entrance to kindergarten for my daughter, who was born in October of 2018. She was admitted under the early entrance program and she will be starting kindergarten this coming fall. That said, the experience was deeply disturbing, and I worry that if I had not looked like I do and spoke fluently in English and had the nerve to continue and even push back frequently, that the outcome would have been different, and I have concerns for other families in the district. The law requires that a school district shall have a policy that allows for accelerated placement, and that includes early entrance to kindergarten for children born in the fall months. as the regular cutoff is September 1st. I'm honestly not even quite sure what District 68's policy is. There is information on the website. The website says it's for children in, quote, the very superior range when compared to their peers, end quote. But the law says specifically, quote, this is not limited to those children who have been identified as gifted and talented, but rather is open to all children who demonstrate high ability and who may benefit from accelerated placement. So from the get-go, the district is misleading to parents, I believe, trying to convince them that it's for the very select few, the absolute elite, the very top, rather than a viable option for potentially many children with fall birthdays. The website lays out the steps for parents to take. I filed an application and waited to be contacted for a meeting with the principal and the psychologist. When we were not contacted for over a month, I pursued the meeting and it was set up. We met with our principal. The psychologist was not present. He told us he was biased against this, that we were asking him to play God, and that he had to think about how our child would do years down the line, and had to make sure she wouldn't take resources from another child. Despite not being told it was required or necessary, I of course showed up to the meeting with 2 letters of recommendation and extensive documentation of my daughter's skills. We were asked for more empirical evidence, and a lot of random acronyms were used. Finally, we were told that she was allowed to progress to stage 2. We were also told she was the only child that had ever progressed to stage 2. At that point, it became completely unclear what stage 2 even involved. We were told she was required to take the MAP test in math and reading, and we were told she had to score in the 90th percentile of exiting kindergartners nationwide. She would have to take the test on a computer with a stranger without us present. This seemed very extreme to us and somewhat bizarre because Devonshire kindergartners don't even take the MAP test. So in no way was this comparing her to her current peers or her potential peers or the peers in this district. Further, scoring in the 90th percentile of outgoing kindergartners would indicate that she was more than ready to attend first grade. We pushed back in various ways, and suddenly the requirement changed. Suddenly it was a need to score in the 90th percentile of incoming kindergartners. We pushed back on the timing of the test, the way the test would be administered, and we submitted our daughter to this test, although at all times I still questioned how this was possibly an appropriate measure for kindergarten readiness. The entire process felt adversarial. It was us against them, it was not transparent, and at no time at all did anyone ever want to meet our child, speak to her, or hear why we as parents thought this was appropriate. Now, this week, interestingly, the school had a kindergarten orientation to which we were invited, and we did not attend because of family commitments, but we were given the slides that were shown there. And the slides, there were several slides that show what your kid needs to know and be ready for next year. That list could have been the basis for a transparent conversation or a transparent assessment of our child by a qualified person. The list included things specifically like knows their name, knows their address, can count to 10, can put their code on. Instead, our daughter took a national computerized standardized test in which she was compared to not her potential peers. I ask you to consider that there are plenty of smart, ready for kindergarten children born in the fall in our district who have young parents, who have parents who are not fluent in English, parents just not ready to be as hostile as I felt I needed to be to accomplish this. I can tell you that I honestly felt frustrated the entire time and intimidated by all of this, despite the privilege of my education and years of wisdom. The district needs to have a policy, and it needs to be implemented in a way that ensures all children are given the right that the state of Illinois has granted them to apply for early entrance to kindergarten. And the law specifically states that this must be done in a, quote, fair and equitable decision-making process that involves multiple persons and includes a student's parents or guardian. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Michelle.
Do we have any other public comments registered or read online? Thank you. We will move on to our superintendent's reports.
Okay, so big night for us here in District 68. We are recognizing 3 retirees in the district. A career in public education, I think, is one of the most valuable contributions to our society. And it's my honor and privilege to introduce our 3 retirees and then their immediate supervisors. We'll share some comments I believe at least one board member would like to share something about our retirees as well. So first of all, we have Kitty Lorati, fifth grade teacher at Devonshire School, and Dr. Shu. I'm going to talk a little bit about Kitty and her.
Good evening, everyone. It's hard to do, it gets a little bit emotional when you work with everybody, so I'm gonna read instead of go off the cuff here. So as you can well imagine, today is a very sad day for Devonshire, and I'm sure that it has been said by others and about others, but for the Dolphins, we're feeling a loss, knowing that someone who is the quintessential dedicated teacher and mentor to so many will no longer have the yearly impact on our students that Kitty Lorandi has had for over 15 years. Kitty started in the district in 2008. At that time, she was hired as a second grade teacher, but she has spent the last 15 years in the district teaching first grade and fifth grade, and she's just excelled at all of them. Prior to that, she was a teacher in District 29 and also in District 74. So for 40 years.
It's 21.
Over 40.
Over 40 years.
Kitty Lorandi has had a huge impact on the lives of so many students. For so many teachers, parents, and mostly students, Ms. Lorandi was someone who inspired, who challenged, and most of all, who supported everyone's success in school. She will be missed greatly, and on behalf of the entire staff and student body at Devonshire, we wanted to offer you our heartfelt thanks and appreciation for all you've done for District 68 students, family, and staff.
I think Jeff Sturbins would like to share.
I get to go before you because they let me sit here. So, along with being on the board, 3 of our children have gone through 68. They have been lucky enough to spend time with many of you in the room right now. Only one person had the joy and challenge of working with all 3 of our children, first, second, and fifth grade, one of them twice. And you don't have favorites. Every teacher that we've worked with has contributed something and has benefited our family, benefited our children. There's not been an educator at any level that's had the impact on our family that you've had. I thought a lot about why and how. And it really came down to the fact that it's a combination. You're just a very gifted educator, and you can recognize the individual strengths in children and really foster them. But other teachers I know have that. It's the level of dedication that you are able day in and day out to do that for every child. And I know that not just from our experience, but from talking with other families. And you can't measure the impact that you've had. I know that's speaking for our family, and I know that's true for others, and I just wanted to thank you. So thanks.
I just have to say that I want to thank the board and the district and teachers, my colleagues, and when I came in 2008, I'd been home for 7 years with my youngest, and it was 3 days before school started, and I was hired, and just a flurry of activity and whatever. But I have to say that every year I've learned so much, and I have the graciousness of my colleagues and the patience of my administrators and parents in this job where you are you're working in constant change all the time, and there is so much that we are called to do, and I feel very lucky to have had this job, and I'm retiring from classroom teaching, but I'm not planning on retiring. I don't know what my next step will be, but the level of service and the joy it gave me every day to be with you, even sometimes when it wasn't so joyful. There's no job that I think is more challenging or that uses as much creativity, and you can get so many rewards. And every day is an adventure, and you don't know what's gonna happen from minute to minute. There's nothing like it, and I don't know what it's gonna be like to be without it, so thank you.
The token of appreciation from the district.
Thank you very
Um,
much.
No token can really equal the contributions you've made to such a
Well, thank
long
you
story
very
career in
much.
education. Thank you
I
very
appreciate it,
much.
thank you
Yeah.
very much. Thank you very much.
Did you get too bored? We're always looking for something.
I will never stop.
Our second retiree this evening, I've referred to him as the ghost in the machine, Dave Peterson. He has been in this district since shortly after graduating high school or somewhere around then. Ernie Nelson is Director of Buildings and Grounds. Do you have a few words, or I'm sorry, Ryan is taking this one. Come on. Dave's a man of few words.
You got there, just a book.
So Mr. Peterson started working here September 15th, 1986 something, yep, 6. He is the longest tenured employee that we have in District 68. Nearly 37 years, Dave has been running around this district trying to fix something. He started off as a custodian at Sharp Corner when it was still called Sharp Corner. Moved to Old Orchard in 1980 something, 88, and then eventually moved to the maintenance department in 1998. He has taken countless classes and seminars, finished designation program in 2012, all to better himself for the district and improve what he can do and cover for District 68. He's energetic, he's outgoing, and he always aims to please. If you need something done, you call Dave. No matter what it is, you call Dave. If Dave can't do it, which doesn't happen very often, Dave knows somebody who can do it.
I got a guy.
He does. So Dave knows everybody, and everybody knows Dave. Apart from every employee, he can tell you the head of any village utility department, he has them on speed dial. A contractor from 20 years ago who put up that wall and did that thing, and he's got their phone number. Or a foreman on a construction project 10 years ago. Dave once called an old summer maintenance helper just to prove a point that he still had their number and it was somebody's child who was in the village water department who ended up coming the next day to help turn off water because we had a main break. So he literally knows everything. Now if you ask Dave to describe himself, which he kind of sees up here a little bit, he'll say he's timid and meek and shy, which he does in front of people, but he doesn't do in front of everybody that he knows. I'm standing up here as somewhat of a nightmare for Mr. Peterson, but he's always a good sport. He's one of the most dedicated employees I have ever worked with or seen work for any company. He's climbed inside of stormwater drain vaults that he really shouldn't have. Cleaned absorption chillers, routed countless sewer drains, built walls, taken down the same walls, changed the buildings from heating to cooling countless times, all to make District 68 employees feel comfortable at work and maintain our beautiful buildings. In order to keep his fellow co-workers in the buildings comfortable, he's always watching the weather, and he can tell you when it's gonna snow, if it snowed, an inch, half an inch, whatever. I mean, like, he's like 65, watch the Weather Channel every single day. When he's not watching the Weather Channel and it's cold outside, he's watching web control to see if any boiler has failed, if the building's heating properly. Like, he will call you on vacation to make sure he doesn't need to come in, because typically he does come in. He's always on top of things. If it's supposed to snow, Dave's usually up at 2 a.m., ready to plow, whether there's snow or not. He's ready to come in. And we usually have to tell him, let's wait till it starts snowing before we, come in. I personally think that Dave takes it personal when we call a snow day because he knows that he and his team can remove the snow and get everything in. It's usually the buses can't run on the village and get kids to school safely, but Dave knows he and his team can do it, and he'll be here, whatever, to make sure the job is done. Now, usually Dave greets everybody in the morning with the top of the morning to you, and then usually when he leaves the conversation, he always makes a point to tell you to have a great rest of your day. Past few years, Dave has come by my office and has stopped coming in because he says, well, you're a bigwig now, so he just gives me a sniffle to make sure that's his hello that he says. So whenever all of a sudden I'm doing something, I hear a, okay.
And I get one back.
And he gets one back. He's been here since day one and has welcomed me since I got here. He does it for everybody. Everybody knows Dave. Dave knows everybody. He will be a huge loss to the district. Big feats of it. He knows where all the dead bodies are. He's cleaned dead animals off the roof of the building, picked up other things. He knows everything about the district buildings, the grounds, the history behind them, and will be a sensational loss, but this well-deserved retirement coming up.
It's been a great ride, man. I don't know too many people, that can really say that they really look forward to coming to work. Being surrounded by so many fantastic people just makes all the difference. So, thank you very much.
Thank you.
I know, nothing's gonna break. He's made sure of it. Nothing will break.
So
I got his number.
our third retiree to recognize this evening is Dr. Barb Marler. I think she's in the front row there. I have known Dr. Marler for 30-ish years, I believe. When I was first taking classes to become a teacher, she was one of my professors when I was getting my ELL endorsement, I guess almost 30 years ago. She ended up being a director where I later got hired as a bilingual teacher. And then she parted to be a professor for many, many years. And when we opened up our bilingual director position, it was a half-time position, some of you may recall, a number of years ago. I heard from Barb for the first time in 10 or 12 years, and we were delighted to reunite. We were delighted to find her as our EL director, our first EL director. And she, right off the bat, led us through a learning team process that helped redefine ELL education here in District 68 to the benefit of approximately 50% of our ELL, or 50% of our student population are ELL children. She's done a fantastic job of leading us through that transition in our EL program. Once upon a time, our EL program was all pull-out. Our kids were all pulled out of the regular classroom for a portion of the day to get services. And I remember one day going over to 219. They were giving us a tour of their STEM lab, which was very impressive. And I remember the teacher coming up to me and saying, we don't get a whole lot of EL kids from District 68 in our STEM program. And I came back and was kind of puzzled by that. And I found out we were pulling them all out during science. So they were coming out of science instruction to get their EL instruction, and they weren't getting science in their elementary years. So that was something Barb and I talked about off the bat. And now all of our EL instruction is delivered in the classroom for all of our kids. The majority of our students or our teachers are EL endorsed now. And our kids don't have to leave the classroom and miss valuable content or be away from their peers to do that. Barb has done a fantastic job in helping bring our EL program into the 21st century. Barb, thank you from the bottom of my heart and the bottom of the district's heart as well.
Wonderful. Thank you from the board, Kitty, Dave, and Barb. You'll be missed. We shall move on to the arts.
Okay, so we have a music and arts recognition program this evening that Brian Ritz will be leading. You've already seen some of our music and arts program this evening. I think I saw most of you over at the art show prior to this, and then we're here for our.
There's a theme tonight, right?
Encore tour.
A fine night for fine arts. Thank you for having me, in the words of Brian Berry. Wait, hold on. They're in the wrong one. Oh, this is for later.
Close your eyes.
You're taking away everything from me before.
I had to follow the requirements. Thank you for having me. I'm here to give a fine arts highlights. I'm Brian Ritz. I'm the coordinator for curriculum and school improvements, and recently sat in a department meeting and fine arts. So I get the privilege of working with all of the fine arts as well as all the encore and specials teachers and students. And it's truly one of the highlights of my job. I feel like today's an add-on of last month's presentation. We talked about how Old Orchard's Encore program was serving the whole child, how it was getting into culture, and this image is something I think about a lot, and all the different attributes of culture. Specifically, we'll talk a lot about art and music today, but from such a diverse district, I think it's important to recognize all the ways that culture presents itself in our students. Recently, I was in a professional learning space with Janu, and a quote that was on that resonated with me was diversity. Is the animation not working? Wow! All right, Brian Berry.
Sorry, not Brian.
There's supposed to be a animation here, but we'll wing it. Diversity is being invited to the party, and inclusion is being asked to dance. And I'll put my own 2 cents about or create or perform. So I really think our fine arts program brings not only diversity but inclusion to our students. And fine arts isn't just a nice to have. So I'm honored to say that District 68 is a school district that doesn't just think of fine arts as an extra, as a thing that's on the cutting board, chopping block, I think it's called. It's really in our mission and our vision and our core values. So in our mission, we talk about confident and creative learners. We talk about encouraging personal growth, both academically and otherwise. We talk about the whole child. We talk about that diversity, equity, and inclusion, innovation and creativity. Specifically in our goals, we talk about including student family activities. I think tonight was an example of that as part of our fine arts program. Talks about the integration of world cultures, and I'll talk a little bit more about that later. Full range of human potential, again, thinking beyond just academics there. And then opportunities to extend the school day to enrich learning, social and cultural well-being. We'll see that highlighted throughout today's highlights. I'll start with instrumental music program. Here's some things to know about our current program. Currently, we have just under 300 students in our band and orchestra program. At a school district that's 1,600 kids, that's a great percentage. It's almost the size of one of our elementaries. In the last 2 years, we've seen a 32% increase of our students who receive a school instrument. So if you weren't aware, it's quite expensive to rent a musical instrument from a music store. And we, in thinking about equity, don't want money to be a barrier to being a part of our program. So just in the last 2 years, I think especially after COVID, we used to have 62 instruments we could loan out to students, and we did what we could. We've asked for donations. We spent all the money we could in our budgets to provide 28 more instruments in the last 2 years, and every one of those instruments have been in the hands of students. Also, over the last 2 years, we've had a 10% increase in our program every year. Interesting enough, we've been seeing students who are in 7th and 8th grade, 6th grade, coming to the door for the first time saying, I want to play an instrument. And we don't turn them down. We're not one of those people that have to start in 4th grade or else. And we work with them, and it's been really exciting to see. We had a prehistoric visitor to our last elementary concert.
So great.
That was a, sure,
Do you have a keyboard?
but
Like keyboard, like,
we have pianos and we're talking about adding that as an encore class.
thank you.
The dinosaurs is a part of the picture, but what I really want you to focus on is the parents. There's not a single seat left in the house, standing room only. We had almost 100 elementary orchestra students performing, and again, just standing room only for all the parents to be there. Again, thinking back to that student family activity piece. Also, I don't know how many people came to the art show today, but they busted down the door. When I think about this in terms of culture, over half of our students are either EL, former EL, exited EL, or screened, which tells us that they come from a home language other than English. If you think about music being that universal language, again, I think that talks to the unity it has for world cultures. And then when you dig a little deeper and you look at all the home languages that serve or that work with our instrumental music department, English is 41%, and then you have 25 plus other languages. I knew this anecdotally as a member of a crowd in the at any of the instrumental music concerts. Sometimes I felt like I was in the international terminal of an airport. I just hear languages all around me that were obviously something else other than English. I'm gonna have Ralph Petrella come up for a second and talk about the band contest we've had. This year is the first year in many years we've taken the band on tour. And they gave up 4 Saturdays in a row. We went to 4 different places, both the jazz band and the concert band. I'll let Ralph speak to some of the awards and some of the things they experienced, but it's really exciting.
I'm gonna just piggyback on something Brian said too. I recently sent a survey to our 6th and 7th grade students and asked those who hadn't already played an instrument if they might be interested in trying, and got within a couple of hours more than 30 students responding saying that they are interested in picking up an instrument, and so that's very encouraging for numbers continuing to grow. So that's our mission, is to keep as many kids as possible with an instrument in their hands. For many years I wanted to expand the off-campus opportunities for the band students. And right when that was about to get going, we had a global pandemic. And so that was delayed for a little while, but this year we were able to stop waiting for the right time and just go ahead and take the time to give it a try. So the picture you see here is at Clarendon Hills Middle School. Our band was performing for a panel of 3 professional judges selected by the Illinois Grade School Music Association. I was surprised to find when I brought the band in that the gentleman on the podium in that photo is my friend since 4 years old, Dr. Al Legutke, who happens to be the music education and band professor at Benedictine University, and who I've known since we were playing in band together in 4th grade. And one of the other 2 judges was in fact my middle school band director, Steve Klaus. I did not know this when I was selected for this site. A friend of mine who works with the IGSMA came up to me and said, "You've got Klaus and Legutke for your judges, you're welcome." So it was great to have colleagues and friends who I know well get to work with the students. This was actually the final event of our 4. And the band was awarded a Division II rating, which is considered a good rating, which is above average for a group, and for a group consisting of every grade level and every student in our program. That's a high achievement for their first time out. Our first trip this year was to the IGSMA Solo and Ensemble Contest. This particular thing allows students to play solos or small group pieces that they play without a conductor, so I'm not actually even allowed in the room when they're performing. By the bylaws. They have to prepare the piece with me and then count themselves off, stay together, and similarly they play for a professional judge. We had all of our students given a piece to do for this contest. It was hosted at Culver Middle School, and we had 36 Division I awards and 8 Division II awards for 44 students in the band. Some students were awarded multiple things. Many students even elected to do a solo. That's not something I would require because it's very intense for them to do, but 3 or 4 of our students selected to do that on their own, and each of them was awarded a Division I rating, which is excellent. So that was a wonderful event. And of course, they get a little medal when they're done, a blue ribbon if they get first division and a red ribbon if they get second division. And immediately upon talking about the other contests and events, they were like, do we get a medal for this one? So like their investment was right away, oh, I get something for this. That pat on the back is extremely important, but it also, I think, is what's driving up interest among their peers to have something that looks like athletics or looks like Science Olympiad or looks like Battle of the Books, where they can invest and get a intrinsic and an extrinsic reward from performing. And the jazz band went to 2 festivals. One was the IGSMA festival, which was hosted at Hinsdale Middle School. It was a first time for these kids to be playing improvised solos in front of a judge in a room full of people they don't know. The band did IGSMA first and was awarded a Division II. The following week, we went to Mundelein High School for their 90-something annual jazz festival. And bands from all over the suburban area were there. They got to see a professional jazz ensemble perform and ask questions of them, and they were rated excellent at that. I think the experience from the previous week, we were able to tweak some of the things that those judges gave us, and the judges the following week saw a vast improvement. It's extremely rewarding to watch the kids be energized by these performances, and for them to see that they're not just doing this in a room by themselves, but there are applications for it outside of the classroom, outside of the school setting, and places where they can involve it in their lives personally. So it's a really wonderful thing to see.
That's it.
Yeah, so I appreciate the opportunity of getting to do that. I look around the room and see many people whose children I've worked with in one capacity or another. I know Dr. Bell Jordan's son was in my band the first year I was here 8 years ago, and we've come a long way. That group was wonderful, and each year is different and challenging in new ways, but always extremely rewarding. So I'm glad to see the kids do that. I will say that Mr. Woods and I are talking about finding a way that we don't have to do 4 straight Saturdays in a row. Because that was a bit taxing for both the students and myself. So we're looking to find some different opportunities, but I want to see that continue, expand, and also find ways that aren't necessarily competition related for the students to be involved in the community at large. Our outdoor concert last week was a big success as well. So to get the community involved and have the kids get people who maybe aren't invested in them individually, but can be invested in them as an ensemble, to see them is a very rewarding experience for them and for our community. So thank you.
And I might add, this Sunday, I believe you have a group that's opening up for the Niles Township.
Yeah, the jazz band's working hard. So they just did the art show, played 45 minutes, played every song they had, and three of them twice. And then Sunday we're going to kick off the fun run for the township over at the track. Play a couple of our more upbeat tunes to get the blood pumping before they run, and at which time I will sit and watch. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
So the jazz band's given up those 2 Saturdays, but I'll also mention that they wake up at 7 a.m.
every Tuesday and Thursday, yeah.
Twice a week. That's huge for, can't imagine myself as a 7th grader doing that.
With a remarkably steady attendance.
Yes. A little bit more, another opportunity that we, for many years had was the Philharmonic would come and do a mentor show with us. So that what that meant was a professional player who played an instrument would come and team up with all the other players who played that instrument, rehearse with them for a month or so, and then they would do a show together. They'd play right next to each other. The kids would get to see where they can go if they keep the instrument in their hands and keep up with their practicing. It was a really, really great experience. You could see it in the kids' eyes. And this year, sadly, the funding that the Philharmonic had to pay these musicians to come out to the schools to do it fell through. But we didn't let that stop us from trying to see the Philharmonic and some professional mentors. So the 8th grade band and orchestra went to see a dress rehearsal for the Chicago Phil this year, including Kishibashi, a Japanese-American violinist and vocalist. That included a Q&A from him and also a mini conducting lesson. So again, we value that and want to keep that alive. We're still thinking about how we can get them back or what we can do with the Phil for next year. Something else new to this year, we've done an elementary school tour. This elementary used to come to Old Orchard and we do a show for them, but this year instead we differentiated that a little bit and went to every one of the elementary schools. And my takeaway was the amount of third graders that walked out of the room saying, I want to play X instrument next year. I can't wait to be in fourth grade. So it was really exciting. It was also really exciting for some of the kids to see their older cousin or older brother or sister or neighbor playing up there. So that's something we're going to look forward to keep doing. The art show, I think many of you, all of you were there. But that wasn't the only art show we did. We participated in SOAR, where again, many community members and family members got to see our work on display. Again, thinking about that student family activity piece. And then Niles North did something new this year. They did a virtual art show, and it was like, not like a slideshow, it was like you walked into an exhibit, like a 3D exhibit, and you got to see all of our students' art on the wall along with other kids in the township. So those are 3 things we hope to keep doing. We also had some really exciting news for a student over at Highland. Keegan Smith won the North Cook Intermediate Service Center Art Show Award. The theme was peace, hope, and positivity. And I can just tell you, when I saw this piece in person and the art teacher gave it to me, I couldn't believe a 4th grader had drawn that. And she told me that he did it in like 12 minutes off the top of his head. So quite a talented young man there. His art will be displayed indefinitely at the service center, and just, again, recognizing the talents of our great students. I'd be remiss if I didn't recognize our teachers as well. Here's 2 pictures of our general music programs from this year, a 2nd grade musical and a 4th and 5th grade chorus concert. Every student receives music instruction, every student receives art instruction in the school district. The instrumental music's an add-on, but Erica, Meg, Chris, Brian, Ingrid, Ralph, Mark, Christina, Melissa, Nina, and Ian, and Victoria, those 4 are breaking down the art show as we speak. Really put their heart and soul into this, so really appreciate them. Finally, what's to come? We're going to continue growing our program. We're thinking about recruitment. We're thinking about how many more instruments we can actually buy. And just thinking about how we can beat McCracken. One of the hardest hit things through the pandemic was our choral program. It was with strings, you could wear a mask and play. They even made some crazy masks for woodwinds, but the singing didn't pan out as well, especially over Zoom. So we're on a slow roll to rebuild that, but next year we're going to bring back the Choral Fest, we're going to bring back the OJH choral program to what it used to be, and then beyond. We're also going to continue the Beyond School support for the 3rd year in a row, I think. We're offering a free summer music program for both band and orchestra students. We have before and after school rehearsals every 1 day a week at the elementaries, band and orchestra rehearses. And then I mentioned the jazz band before school. We're going to tap into contests, festivals, community, and professional mentor opportunities. We don't know exactly what those look like, especially with like the funding falling through with Chicago Phil. Just recently, thinking about local resources, Ravinia reached out about a free program they have for students to go to Ravinia and watch a symphony play. So we're always got our ear to the ground about opportunities for our students. We're also thinking about broadening cross-curricular projects. How do we cross-pollinate our fine arts program with our other academics going on in the schools? If you're at the art show, you might have noticed what one of those panels was these little cards about their culture, about students' culture. And that was actually a cross-curricular project between the photography class and the ESL class, where the students brought in something, a relic, a symbol, of something that meant something to their background. The photography student shot the photo, and the students wrote about what that meant to them and why. So more things like that. And then continue to think about the vertical articulation things we can do with Niles North. We already do a lot, but what else can we do? We have the Orchestra Odyssey, we do field trips. The jazz choir came to Old Orchard, and I think tore the roof off the place, right?
Jazz choir and jazz band.
Jazz choir and jazz band came, and really kind of built some excitement for coming to Niles North. We do combined shows both with band and orchestra, and again, we're going to continue to start looking at art shows and other ways we can integrate art between the 2 schools. Lastly, this wouldn't be possible without the support, the board and administration, so On behalf of the students, we thank you. And, I'll pass it to the first part of the slideshow.
Our next presentation up is from Sadiha Patel from the Yale Parent Center. She's going to provide sort of a review of the great accomplishments that the center has had this year. So now back to the.
She's right behind you.
Okay. Hello, everybody. I think the last time I was here was Dr. Garwood introduced me as the new director. If everybody remembers me, my name is Sabina Patel. And Ryan, I just click right down, hopefully. I've been bugging Ryan a lot lately, so. So, Dr. Garwood said this, technically I should be nervous, but I'm not because Dr. Garwood gave me permission to brag. And brag I shall. And you'll hopefully justify my bragging, but here we go. So after attending the strategic board meeting, I thought I had to have a strategic plan for the Yale Parent Center. And we already had one, but based on our vision and mission, this is my triad of strategic planning, which is educate, engage, and empower our parents, our Yale parents, with the individual's potential at the focus of it all. And we do this through 4 different areas: social services, implementation of those, providing resources, ESL and digital literacy classes, outreach advocacy and community connections, and parent mentor program. I'm gonna go through all of these 4 areas of what we've done during the year. So the first one is social services. And these are on these categories. So financial assistance, we don't actually have the money, which I wish we did, to give the people, but we sit down with them and complete all the applications. We have done numerous applications during the pandemic for all the rental applications that came out from the government, from D219, from District 68, from the Niles Township, from the village of Skokie. And filling out an application for somebody that's, doesn't have a language barrier is easy enough, but try filling out an application for somebody that does not speak a word of English and gathering all their necessary documents. So we are very proud to say that we've helped a lot of families complete all these and receive financial assistance. I especially want to bring attention to the fact that District 68's help this year, financial help with those that, whatever money they gave Niles Township, was a huge, huge blessing for your families. And there was there are a couple of families in particular that also were D219 families. So between the combined, funds from D219, a whole year's worth of rent was paid off for them. So it was a huge blessing. Also for other things like LIHEAP, which is the low income heat and energy assistance program. There is not an in-person site in the area that does that, but we do it for our families because it's all online and we can do it for them. The CCAP, which is the Child Care Assistance Program, we help with that as well. Scholarships for their education also, whether it's Oakton or for another university, they don't really know how to go about that, so we help with that. And other things like just, getting their internet in or Xfinity or what have you. I literally remember being on the phone for 2 hours one day, just trying to help a family figure out their phone bill because they were billed for phones and whatnot. But when language is a barrier, you have to help them. So we do a lot of that. In terms of personal assistance, some of my most amusing episodes are when they come and flash their emails in my face and say, "Can you explain this to me?" And they don't care how personal it is. Sometimes I have to say, you can, not tell me all of that, but hopefully, I guess that's what it is. But anything and everything from their immigration issues to insurance-related issues, medical, dental appointments. One time my assistant was like, "I can't be making medical and dental appointments every time for these people. So I've got to tell them something." I'm like, come on, let's just help them out. But they are so nervous and intimidated that until they get to that point, we don't mind doing it for them. Transportation, and then even legal. We've had the village of Skokie come to us with families that had police reports filed and needed help. So, constant contact. The next one is career guidance. So this is not related to our classes, but rather for classes outside of what we offer, such as OTAN, certifications at OTAN, whether someone wants to pursue something that they already have a background in and don't understand how to go about that. And then the evaluation of foreign credentials is one of the, the biggest thing that we do in terms of career guidance. The next thing is job-related support, where we sit down and prepare their resumes, because obviously they can't find words to, describe their skills. We will complete their online job applications. Sometimes we even communicated with the hiring manager if needed. Paraprofessional and sub-license is one of the biggest things we've done for our parent mentors. We've helped them create ELS accounts, short-term approvals, which is a new thing that was is being introduced last year in August, which is a 3-year license. It's called a short-term approval for anybody that has a high school diploma. Earlier, the requirement for paraprofessional was 2 years of college, but just last year, and that was a big blessing for a lot of people. But there's one other thing that we did was short-term approvals through the verification form, which a lot of people didn't know. So we had a lot of parents that came to us, especially from war-torn areas, where their institutions have been demolished. There's no way for them to get their credentials from there. There's just no proof. And they would say, well, I actually have finished college there, and I have no proof because it doesn't exist, that institution doesn't exist, but it's so unfair. And so there is something that ISB has for that, which is called the verification form, and it's just called a high school verification form, where you fill out a form, kind of an honor code that I've completed my high school in this country, in this institution, and on this year, and I've had these subjects, and then they sign it, and we submit it through the Regional Office of Education, and ISB issues them a standard, short-term approval, which is just such a big thing. And then the community support, which is also the village or the township or social workers within the community that are working with sometimes families that will be either coming into the schools will also call us and ask us for guidance on how to help their families. So those kind of inquiries come in too. And then school related, which is registration for newcomers, summer school, summer camp, communicating with school staff if they want us to send an email, call the teacher, relay any kind of message, sometimes to attend an IEP meeting or a parent-teacher conference. Even some simple things as some of the parents don't know how Pushcoin works for payment of school fees, so we kind of help them set up the account and do all of that. So these were all the social services, and this is the data. We had about between September and May or end of April, we had roughly 450 inquiries come in, or we call them health requests, and this is the breakdown. So school related was the biggest one, I guess, and then within these services, 355 were parent initiated, 77 were staff initiated, and then 33 were community member initiated requests. And then this is the service data by district. So of all these services, District 68 receives half of them, and the other districts combined, which is the biggest benefit is this being here. So
We're also the biggest district in the.
biggest district with the biggest ELL population as well. So the next one is ESL and digital literacy classes. So for fall and spring, we had a total of 102 unique registrations from parents. That means that many students had enrolled in our classes. We offered 10 different classes. During the day, we start in the morning at 9:30, and our classes are, different days, every other day, and we kind of distribute them in the AM session or PM session. And this is the parent-child impact, with, like, for example, ESL 0 had 16, 15, can't even see from here. And then that's that many parents, and they have the 29 children. So this is just to show the parent-child impact, because the whole premise of the ELL Center is the benefit to come back to the children. These are where our students are from. So a big part of the non-English speaking area from the Middle East and subcontinent, and then Latin America. And these are the languages of our ELO students in our center. You can see Arabic is the the biggest one, Spanish, Urdu, and then a little bit of distribution with the others. And then again, District 68 takes the prize for being the most students. So these are pictures from our classes. As you can see, we have childcare also. And there's me teaching the ESL 0 class, which is a lot of fun when no one speaks anything. But it's been, and then the third area that I talked about is the outreach, advocacy, and community connections. And we've had a very busy year with, you can see all of these institutions that it came to the center to do some kind of service. So Aramark, we had a hiring event, on-the-spot interview, on-the-spot job offer. And 5 District 68 parents were hired a job at the Skokie Hospital as a custodial, the cafeteria, and as an associate. And then we partnered with Miles Township for financial assistance. We also took our parents to on a field trip to the food pantry and to show them the government office, which also offers other services. The Metropolitan Family Services, we held a diaper drive where home visit intakes were done. The University of Illinois Chicago reached out to us because they wanted to conduct a research study on refugee youngsters, aged between 13 to 18. So they wanted to form some sort of sustainable plan for long-term support, and we held that at the EL Center, and I'll show you pictures on that. Tapestry 360 Health came in to provide information on health-related resources. Oakton College has some fantastic new programs, which unfortunately our ELO parents cannot understand much because they have on their website, which is not very user-friendly. So we held a info session, which they have this new program that they just started called the ICAPS, which combines getting your GED and college level credit class in one go. And they have it in 3 different areas. One is a basic nurse assistant, one is truck driver, a commercial truck driver's license, and one is IT support. And I knew that a lot of our families were interested in the nursing program, so we held an information session for them, and 21 people showed up just to the information session. D219, actually, the EL Consumer Education and Business EL teacher invited us to talk to their students about the opportunities for EL students, moving on, and what struggles and challenges that EL, staff that we have faced in their personal lives, to kind of provide some inspiration. So we went there to do that. It was very well received. And then this last Saturday, we held the Early Childhood Alliance had their fun fair, and we hosted a table called Bloom with Books, which we have done last year too here, but that was for elementary and early, but this one was just early childhood. We gave away 200 books free, lots of school supplies and toys, and I'll show you pictures from that too. But my most favorite thing is Grow with Google, and Grow with Google is a program that institutions like community colleges or high schools or career and technical education colleges can become a partner with. And Google has released 6 certifications that you can do online, and according to them, it's very highly paid jobs in IT. These are certifications that they host on Coursera, which I'm sure you're aware of, and the cost of that course is between $200 to $300. But we applied, ELS Center is now a partner with Grow with Google, and we can give those scholarships to our parents. So that will be open to all parents, not just ELO parents, because I know that many ELO parents that will benefit, except those that are a little fluent. But I think that's an awesome thing for us to be able to give them scholarships. So some pictures from all the stuff that I told you. That's the field trip, and that's the hiring event. We have to set up screens because they wanted to interview everybody separately. And that's our session at the D219 schools. That's the focus group, the moms. And this was so well received, the moms actually asked the UIC professor to hold a session just for parents because they had their own issues that they wanted to discuss them. So that was really well done. And then that one is the info session we held at the Center for the Nursing Assistant Program. And this is from last Saturday's event. Room with books. It was a very good turnout. Let's see. Okay, parent mentor program. So I have two parent mentors who will be speaking just as soon as I finish. So the parent mentor program, we had 32 parents that completed the parent mentor program this last year. And this is the distribution. District 68 again gets the prize for almost well, right? 46.9% compared to the rest of the districts combined. And this, it's a diverse group. District 68 PMs are a diverse group. So you can see there were 6 Arabic speakers, 1 French, 2 Spanish, 4 Urdu, Ukrainian, Assyrian, and Amharic. And then just a recap of the whole program, we had 14 parent mentors and 2 coordinators, which is again half of the total, the complete cohort. The D68 PMP team contributed over 1,600 hours through their in-classroom hours and training workshops. It lasted from October through March. It engaged 14 parent mentors, 2 coordinators, 14 teachers, who very graciously opened up their classrooms to host the parent mentors and over 300 students. So I think that is parent engagement at its best. You can't get any better than that. And the total amount of PMP grant money that was spent on D68's PMP team was $28,000. So D68, you get a lot of money from the grant.
A lot of value from that investment.
So some pictures from our PMP. That was the celebration and the workshop. And that's Dr. Garwood. And Dr. Bradley.
Thank you.
And our organizer. And that's your whole District 68 PMP team. So that ends my little spiel, and I want to thank you for this wonderful opportunity that I have of serving.
Thank you so much.
And Masad Alamuda, who will share their reflections. And
Hi, my name is Dareen Shidid. I was a parent mentor at Devonshire School. So Mrs. Farah asked me to ask us to attend the board meeting and share our experience regarding the program. And I really didn't know what to say because I have a lot to say, really. So from the meeting new people and sharing stories and sharing new food and attending the informative workshop that we did every Wednesday and Friday. So this program for me was not just knowing how the school system works, but also there are great teachers, knowing the great teacher working behind this program and the great educator and the personnel, the janitors and everyone behind, like they call it like the best backstage. Everyone like runs the whole school. It's really like I didn't know they work so much, really. I think I just thought the school like cleaned itself. Now I know we have Dave.
No more.
And with all what's going on around us, the most affected is the kids. So, because I seen it, my own eyes in the classroom. Like each kid had not conditions. Like I know that sometimes they told me stuff, and I was like surprised, like the way they feel at home or the way they feel at school or about the teacher. So I think a new person in the classroom will have the students focus more, and like it would brighten this day. Like there's a new person beside the teacher. Really we help them focus more. And I really hope someone create a position called mother figure, just to go around the classroom and just check on the kids. Really, they need it. Thank you.
Hello everyone. I am surprised. I was not ready for all this. Personally, I was very shy since I started this like parent mentor. I would like to thank everyone for this opportunity for give us for parents. I have like before that I have two kids. One is in high school, one is almost 7th grade. I don't know anything how to help. I don't know this country's school systems. So I have like a kindergarten daughter. This year I heard about this program, and then I learned a lot. Before I was like blaming all teachers, why they don't do this? I don't know anything about school systems, and then I would say, oh, why is the teacher is not doing that? And now I don't say anymore. There is no personal thing, and then when I got to classroom, I was helping kids. There is a unique kids. I love them a lot. They are very innocent, and then they give me a lot of letters. So I was so emotional when I put this program. And then, you know, my mom was saying when I was a kid, there's no price for teachers. And then what she's talking about now, I really understand. The whole day they are getting tired with all these kids. I really appreciate it. Thank you everyone for give us for this opportunity. I was applying for a job if I could. I was a CNA before, now I'm shifting to the class if I could. So thank you very, very much for this opportunity.
Thank you very much, Sabiha. It's a pleasure listening to you.
I can just add a quick anecdote. I promised Miss Parkinson, I believe, her EL students wrote several letters to me specifically, which I've shared, I think, with a couple board members, and I can forward them. And it was that the class had a debate about whether snow days should be replaced with e-learning, and surprisingly, they would decidedly split. And there were some treasures in these emails as they had to support their views with a lot of evidence. And there was a lot of, as well, one of the students wrote, when there are snowstorms, the internet connection might be cut out. According to satellite internet, most snowstorms cause power outages. Therefore, we should just have a snow day instead. The argument, of course, to not have an extra day of school is it will ruin plans because if your family wants to go on vacation, you would be somewhere else, and it will be important because you cannot refund the tickets and you would lose money. It's wonderful. I responded to all of the emails, and I got the students' permission to share some of them with you. They were thrilled to hear that. So just a wonderful exchange all around. And thank you all for that wonderful presentation.
Next up, we have Tiana Juarez from the Office of Parent Engagement here in District 68, who's also going to provide us with an overview of some of the accomplishments that she's stewarded in the district.
Yes, good evening, everybody. Diana Juarez, Coordinator, Family Services and Engagement for the district. Ecstatic to be talking with you tonight about everything that we're doing. And by we, I mean me. I am from Department of Blood, love it. When I came on board in the position, it was really to serve the district families with a focus on historically underrepresented communities. I take a sort of two-prong approach to it. The way I see it, the role is to connect with the community, discover what resources are out there, what organizations, what programs are available, what does it take to access those resources. And the other side is to connect our community, our families with those resources. So that's kind of how I split the time as I'm on task forces and committees and really participating and hearing, listening, asking questions about what's available in the community so that when I do get calls, from teachers, from social workers, from families and parents directly, I'm able to have a bank of resources where I can connect the families to the resources that they need. This goes kind of across the board and really reaches a lot of different avenues, a lot of different situations, a lot of different families, a lot of different needs. across a lot of different languages. So the diaper distribution is kind of a really great example of combining both prongs, right? The Metropolitan Family Services collaboration, as was mentioned by Sabika, because the ELL Parent Center also partners with them. So it's diaper distributions. Families who are pregnant or have little ones 0 to 3 have an opportunity to receive free diapers and wipes. Diapers and wipes are expensive, and many families take advantage. So over the past 2 years, last school year and this school year, 84 little ones have gotten diapers and wipes through these distributions, representing 70 families. It's no commitment. I reach out, I ask families who wants free diapers and wipes. They respond with what size they need when they come to pick them up. I've done it both here at the district office and at the elementary schools. They need a staff person from Metropolitan Family Services. So it's no commitment. They come and they can get their diapers and wipes and leave. But they do meet staff from Metropolitan Family Services who discusses the different programming that is available for families for free who have little ones 0 to 3 at home. So it's sort of best of both worlds, being able to connect the families directly with the service provider while also giving them diapers and wipes. So we've had 8 in the last 2 school years. Metropolitan Family Services is very happy to continue that partnership. So we are already planning to host more over the summer and then in the fall. The Parent Mentor Program, as you heard, is an amazing program. District 68 every year has wonderful turnout. We really have some high numbers participating in the program, and it really makes sense as an investment for us to have our parents come through the program, connect with teachers, with the school buildings themselves, school personnel, meet other families, and really just learn what it is that a Skokie family is sort of expected to do, right? What do we want from parents in this district? We want to connect with them and partner with them in their child's education. So kind of going from that, the Parent Mentor Program wraps up end of March. It's through March that they participate, and we want to capture those parents and those families. They're amazing. They now have experience. They're dedicated. As you can see, they want to continue that connection with the school district and with their child's school. I invited them back to the district to talk about what opportunities are available. We are looking for paraprofessionals and substitute teachers, and here we have this amazing pool of parents that can help us in filling those voids and in really addressing their needs and their desires to want to connect and stay connected to the district. So very exciting. We had parents here. We went through AppleTrack and what it is to apply for a position. We had Taryn Kendrick from NTDSC here to talk about all the different opportunities that are available through that district in our local schools. And for some parents, it's really just that, it's that hurdle of, how do you apply online? What if I don't do it right? I don't exactly know what it is to have a reference. What does that mean? So taking the time to have this pool of people that you can really go through these things, really help understand what it is that we're asking, because they definitely have the skills that we are looking for. We want it to be parents. They are local. They are connected. They want to give back. And we are very happy to welcome them in our school. So we really want to capitalize on the Parent Mentor Program and those that graduate from the Parent Mentor Program to keep them connected with our schools. I talk a lot and I get very excited, so please tell me if you need me to slow down. The Skokie Health Equity Network is a new network that's coming out of the village of Skokie's Health and Human Services Department. So I am joining the Accessing Mental Health Action Team, and I'm on the steering committee. It's coming out of the village's I-Plan, so there are 3 sort of major focal points of the network: accessing healthcare, accessing mental health, and affordable housing. So it's new. They're using a collective impact model, so I think my role is going to be making sure that our parents are represented and have a say in what inequities and what challenges they have faced in those 3 different focal points, and how to help address those inequities and kind of guide the network along with how to best serve the community. That's what we do in the district, and that's what the village wants to do. So really just combining efforts. It's across stakeholders in the village. I'm pretty excited to be a part of it and to be on the steering committee so that I have sort of that access and those resources and am able to give it directly to our District 68 families. Newcomers. I think the last discussion we had in front of the board was the newcomer program that we piloted last summer. Since then, we have had a reunion, so the students that participated in it and the teachers wanted to get back together and just reunite, just connect with each other again. It was wonderful. We were at Terminal Park across the street. It was a chilly day, but that did not bother the students to have Kona ice. They had ice cream, they took gloves, they put on gloves, they
They
ate
had
their
doubles.
ice cream. They had doubles, they went for 1.5. It was wonderful, but really just speaks to the connection that happens when you're a newcomer, new to the country, and you're surrounded by support. So it was really exciting to see them all having a blast and to see how much they've really kind of grown just socially, their language. It was amazing to see them and the teachers kind of reunite. And we are focusing now on the newcomer program that is happening this summer as well. We have 34 students currently invited. And I do want to say that since April 1st, we've had, it's now 18 students register for this academic year in the past 6 weeks. So it is sort of a consistent flow of students coming in. Most of them are refugees or humanitarian parolees, new to the country, new to the educational system. So really exciting to be able to have a program like this to offer them. Parents are registering and I get to say, you're new to the country, we have this program where there will be small classrooms, there will be an intense focus on, getting the kids ready for school in the fall. 34 students is a lot. We have 23 confirmed already. I believe it's 3 teachers we have for this program. We provide transportation, there's food provided. So that's the process we are now, is having those confirmed and getting to, what does a bus route look like? How do we get parents kind of acquainted with what will happen? And it's great to kind of figure this out over the summer so that they're more ready for the fall, for kids to start the sort of regular academic school year. I presented with Dr. Marler at the NCISC Resource Sharing Forum. So we did have a discussion about what we do in District 68, how we serve refugees, asylees, newcomer students. And it was exciting to be with other groups and other districts to see what they're doing, what we're doing, and to get kind of brag about all the wonderful things that we get to do here in the district. McKinney-Vento. So this is a big one, so it has its own slide. McKinney-Vento is students that are lacking fixed, adequate, and regular housing. It's oftentimes called the McKinney-Vento Homeless Act, but it really just means students that don't have fixed, regular, or adequate housing. When I first came on board, there were about 12 students on that list, and even then, Dr. Garwood and I had a discussion about how to better serve those families. Since then, that number's quadrupled. We are at 48 students currently on our McKinney-Vento list. A majority are refugees and humanitarian parolees. So about 33 of them on the list. So 33 of the 48 are refugees and humanitarian parolees. If they come through Refugee One, World Relief, resettlement organizations, they do qualify as McKinney-Vento. Represented are English and 10 different languages on that list. So when it comes to providing services, and there are mandates that we have by the state, probably federal government, as far as what we provide these students, the automatic enrollment, free breakfast and lunch, transportation. What we offer in 68 that kind of goes above the mandates, I do buy clothes for the students, so I'm able to buy a new outfit for the students, and I do a referral for clothes for everyone in the household through our community clothes closet at St. Paul's. A lot of what I do is simple but not easy, right? So what do? I help families. That's a simple idea, but in practice, it's really hard, especially in a district when you look at something like English plus 10 languages. I have spent a ridiculous amount of time trying to figure out shoe sizes from a different country, kind of translate it and then see what Amazon offers that might be somewhere close to that. It becomes really difficult, but it's an investment that the district wants to make. We want to serve these families, make sure we're doing it right, and make sure we're doing it well. So McKinney-Vento has taken a lot of time, as that number has grown, I've dedicated more time, more energy, and more work to really serving these families. The North Cook Intermediate Services Center, NCISC, holds monthly meetings for McKinney-Vento liaisons, so I do get to meet with other liaisons to see what other districts are doing, what hurdles they're facing, how they are overcoming the challenges, and to share a little bit about what we do. There's a project through their Administrator Academy, so because I am one person that does the family services and engagement, it's important that, if I'm out one day, if somebody has a question, I'm in a meeting and I'm not accessible, that there is somewhere for other district staff, for families to go to get the information that I would be giving them. So that has been a project. Oftentimes the day-to-day stuff makes it a little challenging to take a step back and do more, take a step back and look and put resources together because I'm busy kind of handing out those resources. So that is a project that I continue to work on and hope to have like a tangible, a binder, something physical, as well as something virtual to be shared with staff in the district and parents. I also do things like pick up hygiene kits and school supplies and things that Dr. Bookler at the regional office, emails and says he has, and I sign right up, and then I drive out there, load up my little Prius with as much as I can and bring it back here so that I'm able to like turn around and give it to our families when they walk through the door.
If I could just say something
Yeah.
before you move on to the
Please
next
do.
slide. So prior to this year, our McKinney-Vento homeless liaison, that position had always resided with our director of student services, who has a very large job description, many things to do. I was approached last spring by Deanna, wondering if she couldn't take over that role, because she had a passion for it, and it really melded into a lot of the things that she does already. So she came and asked for this role to be able to do that, and it's just really invested a great deal of time and energy, and provided a whole new level of service to our homeless families that previously we weren't able to. So thank you for that.
Upcoming projects and programs, so I will try to be brief. Referral GPS is a new program. It's a grant-funded program that serves McKinney-Vento students by providing mental health services for free. So what would happen is I would speak with a family if they were interested in accessing any kind of mental health services, individual therapy for the students, family therapy, therapy for the adults. I would reach out to Referral GPS and say, I have a family, they're interested, here's the language they speak, here's what they're interested in doing, and then Referral GPS would take over, and they would connect with the families, connect them to the services, and pay for it. So it's really, I think, something that I want to further discuss. I ask the questions that we always have to ask in our district, right? What languages are represented? How do you handle, a family that speaks Dari or Pashto and you don't have a service provider in that language? So it's a connection. I'm reaching out to them to see what the benefit actually is. But because I am here in this position, I would be kind of the one managing, reaching out to the families, connecting them with this resource. I think it's a win for the district, so something that I'm looking forward to pursuing. Housing informational workshops. So the fact that our McKinney-Vento list alone is so high means, housing is really important. It's really important right now. It's really relevant. So I'm partnering with open communities to do more housing workshops that are focused on just different and specific things. Renters' rights, evictions 101, disability housing, affordable housing, really speaking to kind of the wider community on different specific focal points, and having open communities come here so that we can plan, English workshops by different languages, provide dinner, provide childcare, whatever we need to do to make sure families are getting this information that they clearly need. So very excited about that. Open communities used to be in Winnetka. They now have a location closer here in Evanston. So we are just now looking to pick some dates and start to get them in the books. They would provide that service for free for us. More diaper distributions, why not? Win-win. Bring your babies, come and get those diapers and wipes. Connecting them with Metropolitan Family Services is really important because of the programs and services they can offer our families. It's something I want to continue to expose our families to. Metropolitan Family Services knows that we have the target population that they want in our district, so happy to continue connecting those. School supply distribution. Talk about simple but not easy. I am hoping to get school supplies distributed to every family in our district that wants them. It's a partnership with the Niles Township government, as well as North Shore Skokie Hospital will give us a smaller donation, but the township is really that big one who will supply back to school kits that I will somehow get to all of our families in the district that want them. We are crunching numbers now to see what it looks like and how many we will be receiving from the township, where we will store them, and how we will get them distributed. Very exciting. Last year we did about half. We did our free reduced lunch population, which is about half of our district. And I didn't like that. I didn't like the feeling of lists and people who did or didn't and why and who has this information and how is it kind of translating to families. So I thought, what if we just give everybody that wants one a school kit? And boy, oh boy, that was an idea. So now I'm kind of working with what the practicality of what that's gonna look like in the logistics. I lament to Mr. Berry, probably weekly, about the complications that come with doing something on that big of a scale. But that's why I'm here, right, is to really serve families and give families what they need and what they want. And I'll end with interpreter training. So as you see from the parent center presentation, from all the languages that we discussed are, reflected in our lists and our different populations here, the Language Access Resource Center, LARC, provides interpreter training. It's a partnership we've done with them before, and I'm hoping to pick it right back up. I would reach out to our community members, take any strong bilinguals who would love to be trained as an interpreter. We would partner with LARC to provide the training, the interpreter training. It looks like 9 weeks or so of classroom time, learning vocabulary, learning about confidentiality and what exactly interpreting is, the spontaneous interpretation, medical, educational, and in courtrooms, legal interpretation. They learn all of that in the classroom. They take assessments, they take tests. If they've passed all that schoolwork 9 weeks later, they are left with doing 20 service hours before they become fully certified as an interpreter. It used to be 40, it's now 20 hours. So what the district has offered in the past, and what I'm hoping to offer again, is to say we will pay for the training, which is about $625, including an initial assessment to make sure that the language levels are where they need to be. So we as a district will pay for that training if those service hours that you would be doing for free anyway, you turn around and give back to the district. Parent-teacher conferences, IEP meetings, behavior meetings, whatever needs we have for interpreters can be filled theoretically by the families that participate in this interpreter training. There's one in particular, Miss Indira Alili is a 68 parent who we trained. She speaks Russian natively. And at first, it was like, oh, well, maybe we'll get some use out of that. I'm willing to do it because I think it can be fruitful. And I call her every day. Every day I have emails, phone calls. There's needs, and I think it's time to do that again. Take a look at our community to see what human capital is there, what resources are there. The investment of $625 pays off exponentially when we have community members who are willing to do that service back for their school. It's an investment. At the very least, it is job training for our community members and our parents. But at the very best, it's that continued partnership. It's somebody who has come through our district, who has children that have gone through our schools, being able to connect with a newcomer family, a refugee family, explain the process, have that cultural connection. It's really paid off in spades. So I'm hoping to pick that back up. I do have to talk with LARC. In the past, they've held those training sessions in our district for our parents. So if we hit a certain threshold, which I think we will invite them back to do that here for us.
And if I can read the room correctly, I think we'd be open to providing more scholarships for more LARC attendees.
Wonderful. Sounds like a blank check is being written.
That was an interesting, we need an interpreter.
Okay, that was a lot, yes. If there's anything I can answer for the board, I'm happy to do that. But really, it's a pleasure. There are a lot of challenges in what I do. There are a lot of challenges that our families face, but it's a real pleasure to have the support of the board through Dr. Garwood to be able to turn around and dedicate my time and energy to serving our families. Thank you.
Yeah, not a question, but I know we're gonna kind of shift a little bit in the focus with our next report. And I just wanted to say to both of you, Ms. Patel, Ms. Suarez, the work that you're doing is so important, and I know not just to me, but to all of us. And it really, hearing all that you're doing, and I know it's not just the two of you, and we had two speakers who had to leave. It's such a group effort that nationally and even locally, there's a lot of talk about diversity, equity, and inclusion, and that people say that schools should focus on reading, writing, and arithmetic. And I would just challenge anyone who says those things to watch a recording of your presentations and just see why that kind of talk is a slogan and so short-sighted, and how incredibly valuable what you're doing is, so thank you.
As you can see, despite Joe breaking the student, or the
Hey.
long-range strategic plan at the last board meeting on his way out the door, the strategic plan is alive and well, and the actions of all of our staff members.
Accidentally bricked. Clarify.
Can I share a funny thing? So we have all the information on our website. And two things that I think catches international attention is the ELL Center is a partner with the Educational Credential Evaluators, and so we are recipients of age. So when someone really is eligible, because they charge about $260 to $300 for credential evaluation. So somebody from Afghanistan is not gonna be able to pay, or Iraq. And so I have to submit a request for a voucher for them. And so anyways, we are listed on their website. And so I've been getting emails from Burma and Ukraine and Lebanon. Miss Patel, can you write a voucher for us? I'm like, no, you gotta for me to request a voucher for you. And at the very first one that I received, I was a little shocked. I was like, I have clearly written, if you're a parent, maybe they didn't read it, and I, forwarded it to the director of ECE, his name is Zach, and he's like, okay, I'll take care of it. But then I started getting more and more, and I'm like, okay, I have to create a template response for this and say, you're not in the United States of America, you have to be in Skokie as a parent for me to request a voucher for you. And it kind of feels bad because they're requesting help, but there's nothing I can do. But I thought, like, I didn't expect this to happen by putting it on my website, but it does. And then recently I had we've listed all our classes too, and I had somebody from the Middle East, dear Ms. Patel, can I enroll my employees in your classes? And I'm like, no. You have to be in person here in Skokie in the United States. You're writing from the Middle East somewhere. So, which was quite amusing, but I'm glad that people are taking notice, and it's been great.
Thank you.
And you have to see my teachers in action. They are amazing. I have really good teachers. Yeah, thank you for supporting this.
Thank you very much. All right, our last presentation of the evening is from James Benson. They're up for sharing some highlights. Hear about the new social studies curriculum. Dr. Humer, and I'll let you introduce your teachers.
Okay, so we're here to talk about our new social studies curriculum that we piloted, and teachers from across the whole district piloted. But we chose to highlight it. I think I can speak for the four of us and many other teachers that we're just really excited and inspired by this new curriculum. As a former high school social studies teacher who was given a very old, thick textbook to teach world studies, and we know the world has changed significantly. It's just exciting to have a curriculum that is so current and really reflects the kids in our district, and has really opened the door for some really interesting conversations. It's actually led to some equity committee discussions about how do we support teachers and having some of these conversations within the classroom, which is really exciting for us. So I have here from Stenson to share, because they're really the experts here. I have Ellen Gruenberg, who's an aide teacher. I have Lisa Goyko, who teaches 5th grade, and I have Hannah Berkowitz, who teaches 3rd grade. So they're gonna highlight this new curriculum that we're all adopting for next year.
We can stay on this.
Oh, stand.
Yeah, so I am really good at talking to kids. I'm not so good at talking to adults. So, like, you'd think after 30 years I could get this going, but so I just wanted to briefly take you back to the beginning of my career in District 68, where I too was teaching social studies in a 5th grade classroom with a textbook. I remember trying to bring Zen in a little bit and had quite a bit of parent pushback. So kind of stuck to the story that was the history that was in the book. Flash forward, the internet was invented, and that has changed kind of the way that we've taught everything. And in particular, it changed the way we have to teach social studies. Because no longer do we need to recall dates and facts and names and places. We can ask Google and Siri or whoever, and they will be able to tell us any information from the past that we need to know. It's important that we understand our history, but the greatest thing in the twilight of my career is that we picked a curriculum that not only shows the history I learned and probably all the history that you learned at this table, but that every student that was represented in all the presentations that you guys just shared will see their story in the American experience. And it is super exciting for me to be part of an implementation of a curriculum that is so perfect for our district. In 2017, the standards changed, and I was involved in some of the implementation at Old Orchard, but ultimately the Illinois State asked us to help under the heading of social studies, create civically engaged, socially responsible, culturally aware, and financially literate students. Financial literacy is done at the middle school, but the other three are covered throughout this curriculum. So the next slide shows the shifts that the Inquiry Journeys curriculum is written at the K-5 level. So instead of a teacher deciding what should be taught, we start with an essential question, and the curriculum is written to help answer student-driven questions about the topic. Their interests drive the story of what it is that we are teaching our students. In addition, they're no longer filling in worksheets or memorizing and regurgitating things. They're really investigating and doing a great deal of critical thinking about the subjects that we're putting in front of them. Instead of having one source, there are multiple sources, videos, multiple different sources that are everything from EPIC, which our students use in their reading context, all the way to different types of encyclopedias, and then some sources written by Inquiry Journeys. So every story can be told. Teachers have options of pulling sources too in order to meet the needs of the kids. And finally, the biggest piece which we're highlighting today is the call to action piece. So it is clear that we need people who care about our country, and we need to raise our children that when they have knowledge, they have the power to do something about it. And so today, we're gonna highlight what 2 grade levels did with the knowledge they acquired in social studies. The basic process in all of the units at kindergarten through 5th grade, you begin with a launch, which is an essential question. You get kids interested and excited about the topic. These are high-level, super engaging questions. They move through what looks a little bit more like a traditional social studies curriculum where they read and create claims and evidence even at the first and kindergarten level, and start learning to critically think about the world around them, consciously tying everything to today and who they are and what kind of person they want to be. And then finally, they're encouraged with the help of their phenomenal teachers to do something with that information, and you'll hear about that today. Ultimately, it's the idea of being informed and taking action and using our information to actually take informed action. So, I was searching around and looking for a quote, but basically we are doing social studies. We are not just learning about social studies, which is super exciting. So, take it away.
I'm going to speak to what this looks like in 3rd grade. So we have 3 units in 3rd grade: Global Connections, Migration and Movement, and then 20th Century Civil Rights. I'm going to talk about migration and movement. I've gotten to teach this unit twice, and this year specifically, or in both years, but the whole unit is guided by this question: how can we honor and respect our many cultures? So that's the overarching question, and then each smaller part has a smaller question, but we always are keeping this in mind. So this is the call to action, and we start with this. Students think about what questions they have about how do we do this, and then we go back and we talk about the history of immigration throughout the United States, what's that's looked like way back 100 years ago, what does that look like today, and of course, our students can share their own personal experiences with this, which I feel like speaks to what both of you talked about today. So in Skokie, the students are the resource in this unit, and it's amazing to get a chance to hear their own stories. And they go home and ask their families things that they maybe haven't asked before about how did their family come to our country. So this unit helps me learn so much about my students as well. So this year, this is the kind of overview. I won't read this to you, but this is the overview of the unit that we can share with families. So this kind of breaks it down for you about what the unit's all about. And then at the end of the unit, once you've built all the background knowledge, talked about, the immigration experience, there's the call to action. And so I said to the students, we are going to honor and respect our many cultures. What could that look like to you? And they had a lot of ideas. Like they want to have a parade, they wanted to dress up, they wanted to invite everybody, all of Skokie. And so we had to kind of, this is just our first year, so let's keep it small, we'll keep it 3rd grade at Gene Stetson, because fortunately my other teammates were also piloting, so we got to collaborate through this unit too. So I said, okay, let's keep it a little smaller. So they pick an artifact that represents their culture. And then they wrote a little bit about why that artifact is important to them, what it means to their family, and then we had a cultural fair. So this was our call to action, and then this is what that looked like. And I wanted to say that at the end of the unit, they understood that to honor and respect your many cultures, you need to share who you are. That was the kind of big takeaway, was if you share your story, you'll connect and you'll understand each other. And so this was their way of doing that. And they went around with Post-its and they wrote questions or connections to each other. And then you can see they were really intrigued. They found friends who had similar experiences to them, or they learned something new about someone they've known for 3 years. So it was really a special thing to see. And that was what it looked like in 3rd grade.
Okay. So I am the 5th grade teacher, and these are some of the units that we covered this year, but I'm going to talk to you about the colonial era unit. For this unit, and we can, yes, I can control. So down, right? Yeah. It's very powerful. Okay. So for this unit, this is the letter that goes home to tell the parents what we're doing. The approach that the program takes is unique in that students are exploring and investigating and learning through multiple perspectives, which is at the heart of all of this and at the heart of actually the call to action that comes later. They are engaging with primary resources, they are watching videos, and they're annotating in partnerships, whole group, smaller groups, which gives access to everybody in the classroom. And I think one particular interesting part about this unit is that the program really highlighted the structures of power that really started during this time in history and that continue through today. And so that's the connection between the then and the now. And so this inquiry question that, so just like Hannah and Ellen mentioned, the inquiry question sort of reminds them, okay, you're learning this from the past, but how does it connect to today? And this drove their thinking throughout the entire unit. And they, when they thought about their call to action, they started making lists about the challenges that they faced in their community, at school. And they were really, really thoughtful and really specific. And we asked them to really be able to not only identify those challenges, but really define what they were. And they came up with words like, okay, during structured time, this is going, but we're seeing name calling, we're seeing homophobia, we're seeing racist comments, and we see this structure, this power structure forming in our schools. And so, through a lot of discussion, they, this is the part where they actually have to think about what are we gonna do about it? So we have a problem, how are we going to positively contribute to our not only our school, but our entire community? So this took some time. It's a simple statement, it looks simple, but it really took some time to find the right verse, the right action words to define what they wanted to do. And so it set the intention for the call to action project, and it's sort of the what are we gonna do part. So they said, we are going to create a campaign to influence students at Gene Stetson School to be kind to one another in order to prevent racist, homophobic, sexist, or any mean name calling. And so
again, it's interesting. At first, it started with like, oh, bullying, but then I think Ellen and I were talking to them about it, and we said, well, what do we want to highlight? And they're like, we want people to be kind to each other. And so, the kinding campaign formed. What you see here, is all student made. I had nothing to do with this. They designed the lion for Stenson Lions. They came up with the verb kinding.
It is a unique word.
Yes,
I looked
yes.
it up before we made a post.
Yeah, we wanted to make sure it was okay. They came up with the slogan, kinding because kind should be on your mind. I mean, it was amazing, and I have to say that, you know, sometimes when we talk about teachers, we say, oh, we're facilitating. And sometimes that's not true. And it was so true in this case. We were facilitators of their own thinking. We would just like steer them to different places, and they came up with this. They came up with a slogan. They wrote scripts. The next one. They wrote letters to teachers explaining what they were doing. They wanted teachers to identify kids who were kinding so that they could be highlighted in this campaign. They wrote to Dr. Humor. They invited their families and caregivers. It was a whole production, and they, from the get-go, like Hannah's students were so excited. They're like, we want to do an assembly. And I was like, okay, sure. So I just went with it, and thankfully we were so supported. And the day of, April 28th, they presented, and their excitement was palpable. I mean, they were so proud of their work. You know, even the kids who were always goofing off during rehearsals, they were just like there holding their posters, and they were just so proud. The kids in the audience were cheering for each other. And I even heard somebody say that their fourth grader really wanted to go to fifth grade because of the kinding campaign. They wanted to do this. I'm like, I'm not sure if we're gonna do this next year. But you know, I'm just so excited about this program. This was my first year trying it out, and I keep saying that it allows you to teach the meat of things, and really focus on helping them become critical thinkers. So I'm just super excited for this program. Thank you.
And to the sort of boring part of this, but the key thing is that we love about this program is that it does connect to the whole strategic plan. Like I started to write down all the ways it connects, but it actually connects to like everything. And these were just two highlighted examples, but this connects to the cultural responsiveness goals, to the social emotional learning goals, to our teaching and learning goals. It really connects to so much, and really having our kids see themselves within a curriculum, and a curriculum that's always going to evolve. It's digital, it's not a textbook, they update it yearly. Some other examples, just briefly, in one fourth grade unit, they're focusing on how history is told, and the students are they're learning about the history of Illinois, but they're learning about how sources are limited to that particular author's perspective. They're also starting to learn how to recognize that often history is missing the perspective of other groups, and then how different groups of people can have different perspectives about the same event in history. To me, those are really big pieces of learning for kids that are in fourth grade. And it makes me excited, and I hope we hear from Niles North social studies teachers of like, wow, the kids from 68 are coming in with just like a different sense about our world. Another example in like first grade, they're learning about each other's families. What's great is their anchor text includes many different non-traditional families, and they're talking about different ways that families look and how to celebrate all sorts of different types of families, and what families do, what cultures they celebrate, what holidays they celebrate, and how to look at similarities and differences, but to celebrate those and honor those. And then lastly, our kindergartners, I think it's so adorable. Our kindergartners right now are learning about the wisdom that we gain from history. And so they are actually learning the word wisdom in kindergarten and what that means. And they are creating their own wisdom, that their call to action is they're creating their own wisdom to pass on to the incoming kindergartners. And so it's the first time that I've really seen kids like truly engaged in the learning because they have a voice, and they can choose what they're doing, and it really resonates with them and is authentic. And so that's really why we wanted to highlight this, even though this is something that's happening across the whole district. But I think just, you know, it's a passion of ours, and so we wanted to celebrate that with all of you. So thank you.
Great. Thank
Jim, can I make a quick little comment?
Please.
So, a few months ago, I presented to the board that we had finalized a curriculum for social studies adoption, and it's obviously inquiry journeys. We're not formally starting this curriculum until next fall, but there has been so much enthusiasm and passion for the curriculum that teachers have said, can we jump in fully now? And they have, and the result is what you see, what Hannah and Lisa and Ellen shared with us. I also want to give a big shout out to our AIM teachers who really have championed social studies instruction really taking that inquiry mindset and that AIM, advancing inquiry and meaning. And they really have partnered with classroom teachers to help them see how this curriculum is different and how powerful it can be for our students. So.
Thank you very much, ladies. Thank you for waiting a little while before you were able to make your presentation. You guys have to get up early and get back to teaching, so please
Just one, no, if you have questions, it's just a comment. My students at Northwestern can't do what you've got fourth graders doing right now. And what you guys have been doing with AIM and social studies in particular, I'm a social scientist, and what you've been doing is actually making me excited about the students that'll be at the university in a few years, because it seems like the ways that people are inquiring gives them much more meaning rather than, is this on the test, which is kind of the death knell to education. So thank you.
Our version of that is how many sentences?
Thank you very much.
And all new curriculum merited parade.
Before you go, I just didn't know if there was any kindergarten wisdom that anyone.
So, it's really worth noting that what you saw was like Stenson's interpretation, like as.
Oh, yeah.
As,
Was awesome.
and the interesting thing is you'll hear different calls to action. Jenny Green at Highland has been sharing, the three of us kind of communicate, and I know Highland's done completely different calls to action. They're in the process of making a playlist for one of their end of units. So we're building a bank of potential ideas. So Megan Looney is currently in the kindergarten class. They haven't yet created the wisdom, but we're more than happy to share it with the board when they do. I'm sure they have better things to say than anyone.
Thanks again.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much. Have a great evening. Safe drive home.
Excuse me. This was a stacked evening, thank you. It feels like the best of 2023.
End of the year, there's lots of great things to share, so.
That concludes our superintendent's report.
I do have two quick just notes here. Old Orchard 8th grade graduation next Thursday night at West at 7 o'clock. And we have our June 6th board training. I believe that's on Tuesday night at 6:30 here. So just a reminder.
Tuesday the 6th.
Tuesday 6th.
Tuesday 6th.
June 6th, yes, thank you. All right, we move on to the reading and acceptance of minutes. May I have a motion?
I call for a motion to approve the minutes from April 20, 2023 Board of Education regular meeting and the April 27, 2023 Board of Education organizational meeting.
Second.
Joseph,
Yes.
Lenigro,
Yes.
Ruffner,
Yes.
Sturbins,
Yes.
Sullivan,
Yes.
Warshaw,
Yes.
Bill Jordan.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. The consent agenda is our next item of business. Does any member wish to remove any item for separate consideration? May I have a motion?
I call for a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented, which includes the personnel report authorizing the hire of administrative staff, hire, leave of absence, and the resignation of licensed staff, hire and resignation of classified staff, including the 3-day unpaid suspension of Devin Morris, financial reports, pay orders and expenditures, and second readings of the Board of Education policies 2.110, 4.60, 5.30, 5.90, 5.125, 5.150, and 5.260.
Second.
Before we do the roll call there, the last time when we did consent agenda the last month, personal reports embedded in there, and I shared that we had hired a new EL director for the district for next year to replace Barb as she's moving on to retirement. Karina Lupiano is sitting in the front row. She is coming to us from Palatine District 15. Just wanted to introduce her to all of you. She wasn't able to make it at the last meeting, so.
Good evening, everyone. I'm so happy to be here, and I'm beyond moved with everything that was shared tonight. I'm really inspired by all the work that's happening in the district. And I want to thank the board and the school district for allowing me to have this opportunity to lead and serve in this role, which is very close and near to my heart. I was a former EL student in Edgewater, not too far from here. So in a very similar demographics, and I'm really excited to get started very soon, actually.
Thank you very much and welcome. Welcome.
Lenigro. Ruffner.
Yes.
Servants.
Yes.
Sullivan.
Yes.
Warshaw.
Yes.
Bill Jordan.
Yes.
Joseph.
Yes.
Thank you. We move on to our reports and discussion items. Noel, do you have a report from TDSE?
I do, and it's extraordinarily brief and not nearly as inspiring.
Is there animated slides?
There are no animated slides.
Good.
So NTDSE had their meeting last weekend. It was my first meeting there, and so we did a reorganization of the governing board of the township. And beyond that, we had a presentation from the NTDSE coaching program, talking about the use of coaching to help teachers with figuring out how to employ some applied behavioral analysis techniques to be able to assist with behavior in the classrooms, and demonstrating how well coaches are able to actually help expand teachers' overall skills in ways that are meaningful in terms of promoting better ability for students to engage in academic learning. Beyond that, the main thing that may be of interest is that they were talking about a new partnership they're working on with Lurid for audiology services at the Skokie location for students that have hearing loss or need to have evaluations of their hearing. And I think those are the main things of note. They have the start of the extended school year occurring, and so the budget was approved for that. And beyond that, their last leg of their construction to the Malloy building is starting. And unlike last year, where there was some existential problems, they have actually planned this year for when the construction ends and giving the teachers more than 24 hours to set up their classrooms before students start. So the teachers will come back in the last week of August once the construction is completed, and they'll have, I think it's close to a full week before the students come back. So the students will be back on the Wednesday after Labor Day, so a little bit later.
Cannot imagine there would be unanticipated delays.
Don't say that out loud.
I mean, I think they've got it worked out. Yeah.
Absolutely.
As a parent of a child at Malloy, I can tell you that it was kind of a mess.
Oh, I can only imagine. All right. Thank you very much, Noel. We move on to our search process.
Yeah, it's a strange topic to be talking about the process for how you will be replaced when you retire. As you all know, I retire at the end of next year. So I just wanted to provide you like an overview of a typical process that I've seen in other districts, and sort of a timeline that goes with that. Usually, August, September, a district would choose a search firm. There are probably 3 primary firms that operate in the area. There's a couple of smaller ones that don't have much of the market share. The one you used last time, School Exec Connect, probably has the biggest market share in the Chicago area. I think it was a pretty successful search last time. That's my 2 cents, but at any rate, so what I've seen school boards do is they'll typically invite 2, maybe 3 search firms in to interview them, to hear about their processes and their timeline. I'll say this, you probably won't see much of a difference between their processes and timelines. It really kind of boils down to, do you like the personality of the people who are presenting, who would be the people who would actually conduct your search firm? Because they all do essentially the same thing. Usually by August, by early September, you'd have a search firm selected. We could potentially start the interviews in June, at the June board meeting. Those interviews are done in open session. We could start in August too, or we could do some in June, some in August. In the month of September, they will usually conduct a survey to try to determine the qualities you want in the next superintendent. They'll also do focus groups with teachers, with administrators, with parents, other employee groups as well, to help determine sort of that punch list of what you want in your next superintendent. Once they have that, they'll post the job. One of the things I want to say about using different firms, it's the same people are going to apply regardless of what firm you choose. It's not like each firm has their own stable of people. So you don't have to worry about the pool of candidates. That pool of candidates is going to go wherever the job is, not wherever the search firm goes. In September, they will have wrapped up sort of this criteria that you're looking for. The job will be posted. In the month of October, they would typically do their screenings because they have a stake in wanting to be sure that they bring you good quality candidates that match your criteria, that would be hireable by you. In the month of November, typically, they would be bringing candidates to you to interview. And then potentially as early as December, you're wrapping that up. I believe I was approved, I think I was offered the job in December, and then it was in January where that was formalized. When you have a retiring superintendent and you've got that lead time, that's sort of the typical timeline and process. And then, after you approve that person, presumably, I'd say January is probably the safer bet. Then they start with an entry plan, and a new superintendent would create an entry plan, share it with you. I know I started coming to all the board meetings, for the rest of the year, and jumped right into negotiations that were in midstream at the time as well too. So, any questions about that?
I had one, but I lost it real quick.
I do like the possibility of as early as June is next month. Oh my goodness, I'm saying that out loud.
June.
At least doing some consideration for firm selection, to at least get started on it instead of waiting to August to. But again, this isn't a huge exercise because there are so many similarities, but just to go into the summer having that in place or at least in progress sounds good to me.
Yeah, so the search firms that are sort of the biggest operators in the area, School Exec Connect, which is what District 68 used last time. BWP and Associates has also worked locally in a lot of school districts in Cook County. Hazard, Young, and Atia, they used to be a much bigger firm. They seem to have less of the market share here, but they're also more of a national presence at this point too. Illinois Association of School Boards does their executive searches as well. I'll say they tend to operate more south of I-80. None of the cost is not all that great. We'll be able to learn more about what their proposed costs are, but it's not an extraordinary amount of money. The cheapest one probably is the Illinois Association of School Boards. But the ones that have the most market share, in doing searches around here, are School Exec Connect, BWP probably, with Hazard, Young, and Atia.
You can access a webinar IASB gives that details their process and the timing of the process, and they want to catch the wave of available candidates when the job is posted. But it's a nice insight into how they operate, assuming everyone.
So out of curiosity, how many firms would you be interested in interviewing? I'd suggest at least 2, maybe 3. but you can go with more.
We did 3, I think we did 3.
Three.
Did you ask? Okay.
3, great.
So would you like me to contact those top 3, see if I can get them in at, for the June board meeting?
I would be, I do think it's worthwhile, given how education sectors are going now, to have, at least talk to a firm that does have more of a national reach, just in case. I think there's a lot of educators too, particularly in certain states, that would take a look at what is going on here and be like, that's where I wanna go and build something.
Yeah. Yeah, here.
We'll take them from the floor.
Yep, poach them.
Are they coming to do a presentation, or is that our chance to ask them lots of questions? Can we ask them to make a specific kind of presentation? Or give some
I mean,
overview?
typically they'll provide kind of what, I provided a very brief overview of what they would do. They'll probably go into a little bit more detail, and yes, there's an opportunity to ask questions.
Okay, great.
You said that's a public meeting?
That would be a public.
And then interviews with the superintendents themselves would be closed
Those
session?
are closed session, yes. Yeah. And, because of the sensitivity of those kinds of interviews, sometimes you have sitting superintendents or they're in other positions. Those things are done, pretty secretively in terms of the identity of candidates, just because they, if they don't get the job, they don't want to tip the hand in the district that they're currently working in, that they were looking elsewhere, so.
After they do the focus groups with, all the different stakeholders in the district, do they come back to the board and say, like, here are the themes that we saw?
Yep, absolutely. They'll come back with, the results of their surveys, focus groups and everything else.
And then they build the position description, the posting is building that position description based on all of that feedback.
That and their
And their own.
screening and selection of candidates to make sure that, they sort of fit the profile that you're looking for.
Will board members ever be asked to be on the focus groups? I know I was asked to be on. one, but
I would
think it's
imagine that
different
they probably, do you recall, Katrina, last time?
We didn't participate in the focus groups because really we were benefiting from the feedback from the focus groups, so we were kind of the recipients of.
I mean, I was for the 219 one.
I was as well, that's
Yeah,
what
but
I must be.
I don't think we would be for that focus,
Yeah,
it's
not
coming
for
back
the-
to us.
yeah.
So does this mean we should probably also not fill out the surveys as they're circulated?
I think you can absolutely fill out surveys. I mean, you'll be one voice presumably of hundreds, so, I don't think there's any danger of any one voice,
Or have a kid.
outweighing that.
It's really about giving the community an opportunity to have their own, individual time without, board members in there,
Yeah.
because we're inheriting information, but also it's just,
And these are all great questions you can ask them when they come and
But again,
present
last
their
time,
services.
yeah.
Should we have Todd at a closed session to talk about the process? Or is that more
I
contract?
think when you bring in the attorney, Todd Faulkner, that's usually when you're starting to form contract.
Great.
I mean, if that's something you're interested in having him come in, to talk about his role, that's certainly doable. But he kind of comes in once you've made your selection and you're looking at compensation and contracts and things like that.
Wonderful.
All right. Any other questions about that?
Would we use the June regular meeting to have those presentations?
We could go either way. We could use the regular June meeting to do that, or we could schedule a special meeting. Why don't I reach out? I'll start
Yeah, find
reaching
out
out
if the
tomorrow
date
and
works.
seeing, what availability
I
looks
do,
like.
because we already have 2 meetings for June, so that.
Right, we have the June 6th one.
2 already.
And then we have the June
That's it,
18th,
whatever.
18th, is that what it falls? So we can construct the agenda. I purposely put sort of a lot into this evening's agenda to wrap up a lot of the things this year. So we should be able to have a June meeting that is not overly heavy so that we could get them in, to do those.
I wanted Emily's experience to mimic mine, which was, I think we had meetings every other week and they all lasted 2.5 hours.
This is totally typical. We're gonna be here for another 45
I'm
minutes.
just telling my sitter, hey, stay all night.
This is probably our longest meeting of the year so far.
But a good one.
Yeah, wonderful.
Great, thank you for that. Really good. Then we shall move on to our first reading of Board of Education policies.
Okay, so we only have 2, and then we have wrapped up our spring batch of policies. We won't get the
Policy
next
committee is
batch.
happy.
We are super happy.
We won't get our next batch until, last year we got it in November, although they called it the October edition. So we probably won't be bringing new policies to the board until next fall. So there's 2 policies this evening. One is 6135, the accelerated program review. We heard parents speak about this earlier. There's a new section that's been added here. This policy in and of itself is a brand new policy that was created in 2019 for the first time, and then the pandemic hit shortly after that. We have had other students besides just one qualify before. We haven't had that many applicants during COVID, I would say. Basically, this new section just talks about posting it on the website, making it available, the requirements to have administrative procedure and process. Are there any questions? Thank you. Second one is 6230 Library Media Program. There's some additions here that essentially arise out of book bans occurring in some communities and in some states. And Illinois is taking a strong stance against those kinds of repressive measures. So there's some additional things that have been in here to try to make that clear. Any questions there?
I raised a glass.
Thank God we live where we do.
Indeed. All right. Thank you very much. We move on to our action items for the evening. First, our resolution. The next item of business is the resolution to issue a notice of remedy to address professional conduct of a teacher. May I have a motion?
I call for a motion to approve the resolution to issue a notice to remedy to address professional conduct of a teacher.
Second.
Ruffner,
Yes.
Servants,
Yes.
Sullivan,
Yes.
Warshaw,
Yes.
Ball Jordan,
Yes.
Joseph,
Yes.
Lenny
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. The next item of business is the approval to purchase security cameras and vaping sensors. May I have a motion?
I call for a motion on the approval to purchase security cameras and vaping sensors.
Second.
Any questions about this?
Servants,
Yes.
Sullivan,
Yes.
Warshaw,
Yes.
Ball Jordan,
Yes.
Joseph,
Yes.
Lenny
Yes.
Ruffner.
Yes. Our next item of business is the approval of student fees. May I have a motion?
I call for a motion to approve of student fees for the 2023-2024 school year.
Second.
Once again, we have not raised fees. I think it's been for years in a row now.
It is, and I always like to point out our after-school activities are still free for everyone at the elementary and junior high when it comes to either fine arts programs, sports programs, any other club. Not every district says that, and we still provide those opportunities free of charge for all students, so that's a little annual spiel.
Sullivan,
Yes.
Warshaw,
Yes.
Ball Jordan,
Yes.
Joseph,
Yes.
Lenny
Yes.
Ruffner,
Yes.
Servants.
Yes.
And our final is the next item of business is the semi-annual review of closed session minutes. May I have a motion?
I call for a motion on the approval of the semi-annual review of closed session minutes.
Second.
So we just had one meeting where there was closed session. I think it was the March meeting where you discussed my evaluation, and there's no reason to keep the minutes of that confidential. So, attorney recommends. Okay.
Warshaw,
Yes.
Ball Jordan,
Yes.
Joseph,
Yes.
Lenny
Yes.
Ruffner,
Yes.
Servants,
Yes.
Sullivan.
Yes.
Thank you. There were 3 requests and/or responses for information under the Freedom of Information Act during the period of April 14th through May 18th, 2023. On April 5th, the district received a commercial request from
Sherry.
of Smart Procure requesting purchase order and vendor information. The response was sent on May 2nd. wonder if she watches our meetings. I know she's got a fan. On April 20th, the district received a request from Janine Jordan, Data Research Partners LLC, requesting District 68 employees' first and last name, email address, title position, and primary campus department location. The response was sent on April 24th. On May 10th, the district received a request from Vince Espy of Local Labs, requesting copies of all records, transactions, invoices, and email correspondence with Lurie Children's Hospital. The response was sent on May 15th. Our next item of business is entering closed session of the board. May I have a motion?
I call for a motion to enter closed session to discuss the appointment, employment, compensation, discipline, performance, or dismissal of specific employees of the public body or legal counsel for the public body, including hearing testimony on a complaint lodged against an employee of the public body or against legal counsel for the public body to determine its validity.
Second.
Joseph? Yes.
Lenegro?
Yes.
Ruffner?
Yes.
Sturbins?
Yes.
Sullivan?
Yes.
Workshop?
Yes.
Jordan? Yes. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. What a wonderful and attentive audience.
Have a safe drive home, everyone.
If you like, you can wait outside and we'll let you know when you Karen's like, no, I didn't hear that.
It's all about it. He's like, I'm waiting.
I didn't hear that.
We're still on.
Camera's still on?
Camera's still there. I'll jump to our.
Yeah.
It was a good meeting your mom, I got to learn so much. Yeah. Okay, I was gonna ask